So the latest update related to the Air India Flight 171 Boeing 787 total fatal crash, what I call the greatest aviation fail in history. I'm sure that most of you are aware of all the talk about the R.A.T Air turbine deployment in that crash. So anyway, I just read today there is I read today that about 3 days ago, that would make it August 5th, that a Latam Air Flight 603, which is another Boeing 787, had the ram air turbine, the R.A.T, deployed in flight, and it had to go back to the airport. Probably popped up soon after takeoff. So obviously this is going to be one of the major focus on the thing. For those who are not familiar with, or just starting, or too lazy to go back to my episodes, just on a quick thing, is that the ram air turbine is just basically a I believe there might even be a wooden propeller, and small, few feet across, similar to what are used in might be a hang glider, ultralight, that sort of thing, connected to electric motor / dynamo generator, and it pops out from the fuselage. So in flight, if every electrical supply is failed, it would pop out, or you can manually deploy it. So it was spin in the free stream, and a lot of people call it in the wind. No, sorry, it's actually technically is not the wind, because you are moving in the air, but anyway, it's not the air moving into you. So anyway, that's probably something for another episode. So a lot of the so-called experts and high-time pilots came forward and been telling that, well, first of all, they say, well, didn't have the flaps on. Yeah, they had the flaps. There are ways that you can tell, but again, that is an engineering issue and an engineering observation, not a pilot, because when you're flying in those commercial airplanes, you can see very little of the wing. If just maybe out, a lot of people say that you can't even see the engines. I don't know why, but so they say that, well, the ram air turbine deployed, it must be that all electrical system has failed, because it's designed to be that way. Well, again, the whole point is that things are not working as designed. In fact, a lot of things are not working as designed, because if anything, if just a few things are working according to design, this Air India crash would not have happened. So you can't just say just because this worked this way and it must have worked. No, it isn't. So again, to some of the viewers that are new to this, the 787, I have to sum up, the engineer really thought about this, because the 787 is a very highly electric airplane. By that I mean is that a lot of the conventional system powered by other means are powered by electricity. That is quickly, namely, of course, obviously the flight instruments, but the flight controls, of course, they're quite large, they use a lot of electricity, but even more so is the air pressurization and the air conditioning. Also is the icing, require a lot of heat. The cabin pressurization needs a lot of energy to pump. These are all so-called, in engineering, called current devices. Air conditioning use a bit of power, but they are combined mostly. And it has hydraulic system, but the hydraulic systems are powered by electric motors, and probably quite local because the fly-by-wire system. I'll come to that later. So everything is electric, and the flight engineers obviously has the foresight to use a lot of electrical generation and a lot of redundancies in this airplane. It has two very powerful engines. Powerful, not just powerful by themselves, but it's quite powerful, even relative to the size and weight of the airplane. And each of the engine has 2 generators, and the auxiliary power unit, which is actually another jet engine in the tail cone of these commercial jetliners, that also has 2 generators. Every one of these generators are the same, rated to the same power, I believe same power output, and they produce a lot of power. And combined, they are measured, I believe, in gigawatts, which is equivalent to about, I believe this is equivalent to 1 generator in the Three Gorges Dam. So that's plenty for powering a small town, or maybe even a small city. I mean, a large town or a small city. It's quite amazing. So I'm not an expert on this particular airplane that way, but you can see that this is a big departure from in the past, because in the past a lot of the twin engine airplanes, or maybe even 3 or 4 engine airplanes, but mostly twin engine, 2 engine airplanes, there's, in the early days, there's only 1 generator, 1 pressurization. It only comes off from 1 engine. I don't know why they did things like that, but for me, that's complete money over safety, money over people. And imagine that, you have 1 engine fail, it's already emergency, but if you have the one that has the stuff that you need on it, then it's even worse of the emergency. So the 787 has no shortage of power supply, 3 jet engines, 2 of them for propulsion, 1 purely for generating electricity, and then there's a battery, and there's a ram air turbine. And the generator, the auxiliary power unit, is actually just like an RV in the United States, recreational vehicle. So when you're driving an RV along the road, then you have the power for the lights and the kitchen and the shower and all that. I don't know why you'd be cooking while the car is driving, but anyway, when you park, the main engine is not running, so you have a little generator in a box somewhere in the compartment in the RV, and it powers the lights, the heat, the kitchen and the TV and all that sort of thing. And the jet airplane is just a high-tech version of that. And so in a way, the commercial airplane is actually just like a flying RV. It is, because it has a kitchen, a galley, has light. Some of them actually have showers, gyms and Wi-Fi, TV, computer, USB supply, flight decks, and all that sort of thing. Heat, cold, air conditioning, heat. So yeah, so a lot of these so-called experts come in and say, well, because the R.A.T deployed, that means that all the engines and things have failed. Well, not necessarily, because again, like what I said in previous episode, just like a modern car. In fact, I'm surprised at why these pilots would say that, because they're pretty high paid. They must have modern cars, and they would know. Like if you have a tail light or your gas cap is not tightened properly, your check engine light is on. Now, in some cars, it will be just a check engine light and your car drives normally. But some of the cars, in fact, maybe more expensive, fancy cars, that your engine go to limp mode. In fact, it might even just refuse to run. The engine will refuse to run, because I've seen cars like that, fresh out of the dealership, brand new, and between dealership and home, it just stopped in the middle of the freeway, and because it says the transmission is broken. It's brand new, nothing is wrong with it, because some little thing in the car is connected to that data bus, and it corrupt the bigger system. So what I'm saying is that these so-called experts are not correct to assume that the R.A.T would deploy because all the other things failed. In fact, it can be the other way around. It's because of the fact that the R.A.T decided to deploy because of a glitch or faulty decision or erroneous data. It decided to deploy, and that actually shut down the main electrical supply of the airplane, and because of the emergency. It's the reverse, just like your car. And also, again, I'm not the expert of the particular airplane, but from what I would guess is that the 787 only need 1 of the generators, at most, but I think we only need 1 generator out of the 6 to run everything in the airplane: the controls, the air conditioning, the the cabin pressurization, and maybe if they need de-ice, they might need to run the extra run, but I doubt it either. I think they can de-ice with that too. But anyway, even if they needed to at the maximum requirement, they still have triple redundancy on power plant generating electricity, plus the battery and the ram air. So you can imagine that you need to have a hardware switching system and a software to decide which one of them you use, and if one fail, how to connect them. For example, if one fail, you got to choose which other one that you use, and if you use down to two, and neither one of them is delivering power that is special, to spec is under, it can't produce the full power. You have to combine the two. But if you combine the two, but you can't combine the two in such a way that the stronger one will feed into the weaker one. You need to have a circuit and a software that combine the two and feed into the airplane system that needed. So you can see an airplane, things are not simple, and there are a lot of complications, and a lot of people don't realize that your modern car is the same way. How you distribute the power to the four wheels, how to distribute the braking force between the four wheels. It's actually very sophisticated things, and there are maybe hundreds of thousands of lines of software in your car. In these commercial airlines, it could be hundreds of millions of lines of software. And so, these software engineers are not necessarily aeronautical engineers, and they're not necessarily pilots either. So you can see where things can go wrong. So anyway, all I'm just saying is that the R.A.T has been, deployed, deployed at least the 3 cases I know. One of them was a fatal crash, and it could actually be the cause and not the result of these engine failures. So I will leave the experts to it. But anyway, my point is not to bring the listeners or the viewers into become engineers and pilots. Actually, quite the contrary. I'm just using a little bit of what I know about aviation and aerospace engineer to decide for myself to whether I would consider commercial aviation is safe, or would I choose to. And I can say that for me, I do not consider commercial aviation safe, because I'm not convinced it's 100% safe by any operator with any aircraft of any make and model, and particularly I don't feel confident with Boeing. And there has been this one particular manufacturer has been a focus of a lot of problems, technical engineering safety problems, and a lot of crashes, door plugs falling off, software that's hidden from the public causes 2 airplanes going down, 350 odd people, got killed, and there is no consequence for the company or the individuals who decide on these things. It's a pure fraud. It's been prosecuted, and they actually had a sentence, which is actually a sentence of non-sentence. Anyway, so I have zero faith in this particular manufacturer, that airplanes that are manufactured in that period, that is manufactured after merging with the other company and put business money above safety and engineering. So to me, and of course with the India 17 crash, on top of the Boeing 737 MAX crashes and all that, I have zero faith in the government authorities involved either. So for me, I'm not saying that this or that manufacturer is not safe. I'm not saying that you should or should not fly. I'm just saying for me, sharing my thought and process to my journey to decide whether something is safe or not, I do not consider commercial aviation as safe, because it's not 100% safe. I only consider 100% as safe. Just like birds, you don't see them miss a branch or fall off the tree. You don't see them crashing when they're landing on the ground. You don't see an able body walking on flat ground for a few yards falling over. So 100% is achievable. I know there is a way to achieve 100%, but nobody is doing it because of money, and the lack of discipline and poor attitude. So I do not consider it safe, and I wouldn't fly. Now, however, there is consideration of how you evaluate the risk. For example, if there's an airplane ready to go and has seats on the runway, and there's a volcano going off right behind me, or there's a dinosaur running behind me trying to eat me, and there's a door open and a flight just about to take off. Oh yeah, I'll run into the airplane, even if it's a 70% chance that it's going to make it, because I know it's 100% I'm going to die from the lava or die from the dinosaur, the T-Rex eating me, right? So, but for pleasure, like, to go to the beach, for sunshine and all that sort of thing, no thanks. I'm not getting on a commercial airplane. I would say, yeah, that's what the picture is for now. So yeah, I'm just sharing that thought for you. However, if it's up to you to decide, to find the information and decide for yourself whether you would consider commercial aviation is safe for you, and it's up to you to determine what is the definition of safe for you. So it's basically, on a quick update, it's, hey, yeah, after this crash, the 787 still has a R.A.T deployment problem in another case happened, and also highlight the fact that, contrary to what the experts say, the R.A.T deployment does not necessarily mean that that is an effect of a cause of engine failure and other things. It actually can be the cause of the engine failure itself. Just like your car's gas cap or light that went out would actually make your engine stop. So it's the other way around. So yeah, I making this video, again, there are a lot of really exciting things about flying and aviation, and I started making these videos first. What triggered me is because of this Air India crash, but I do not want to. I wanted to do this before this happened, so I actually didn't have a channel like that in mind, just focusing on crashes and bad things. There are a lot of really amazing things to talk about in aviation, much more than the mishaps and things like that. And it's a fascinating and exciting world with infinite possibilities. So I like to sort of maybe focus on that sooner than later. But I just want to, but safety is number one for aviation. It certainly is. Again, aviation should be 100% and above business. Aviation should be, the fail grade would be 100%. So it had to be a little bit more than 100% to pass. So it starts from 100%. And any less than that is, as far as I imagine what aviation should be, is that it should not fall below 100%. For the purpose of flight. So not when the airplane is rolled out to the factory, but when you step in the airplane ready to go. After how many? Anyway, that's the topic I cover many times before. And so yeah, I hope to cover more interesting topics. If any of you want to know more about flying airplanes, not just commercial airplanes. In fact, in a way, they're quite boring. In a way, they're very fascinating because in terms of the speed and efficiency and payload, they are really the top of the game, and it takes a lot of engineering to achieve that. But obviously, for all of us to imagine the excitement of flight is the fighter jet, right? Just like if you think of a car, the most exciting thing is not necessarily a pickup truck, even a monster truck. The most exciting thing is a Italian supercar, right? A Ferrari or a Lamborghini or something like that. So, but it's not like that. An SUV can't have amazing engineering go into it. It's just not so-called sexy or glamorous. But don't forget is that commercial aviation did include the Concorde, which is in many ways far superior to any fighter jets. But that again can be another episode. So, for those who are interested in that and with some understanding, maybe you not as an engineer or pilot, but you are interested in flying and you find there can be excitement in commercial aviation. Maybe you are one of the many who would push for the rebirth of supersonic air travel, and I think that would also be exciting. So it's not all